Welcome to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum in Prescott, Arizona. And my special guest today is Alison Goldwater, who's visiting here in Prescott from Scottsdale, Arizona. Alison, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Alison, when was the last time you were up in Prescott?
Oh, my goodness. I think I was up here maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
All right.
Which is a shame.
Well, there's a downtown, there's a facade along Cortez that a few years ago, as they were trying to modernize and take away some of that 60s facade on the buildings, they uncovered the shadow of a Goldwater store of the sign.
Right.
And working with your family, they put up that neon. So every night when you go to downtown Prescott, there's that reminder of the Goldwater's family history here in Prescott that goes back so far. It just always reminds me and makes me smile to think about when I see that sign, because it's such a tie between Prescott, your grandfather Barry, the family history, its history in Phoenix, and, there it is.
And my what would it be? My great uncle.
That's right,
well.
Morris. That's right. Mm-hmm. Who is probably one of the more understated and underknown great leaders of early Arizona.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was when it was the capital at that point, or no?
When he was here, it was the territorial capital to start with, and then the capital moved to Tucson. And somewhere in that time period, the Goldwater brothers arrived. And they'd come from California. They tried to, I think they had a store in Ehrenberg or La Paz.
Ehrenberg, right. Yeah.
And there's a flood. And then they found their way here to Prescott, which was a going concern here on the frontier. Mm-hmm. And Goldwaters became famous statewide and regionally with their headquarters here in Prescott before they built their big store down at Park Central. Right.
And the great story about the Goldwaters department store, well, when they were in San Francisco, they had a mercantile. And the story is, if I'm saying it correctly, they would deliver merchandise to people in the covered wagons. And apparently these wagons had Goldwater on the side of them. And, Goldwater's a Jewish name, so these were Jewish brothers. So it was kind of said that, don't screw around with the Goldwater wagons because those Jewish guys can hold a pistol and shoot. Who would know, right?
And you didn't want to mess with the goods because the miners were waiting for the goods.
They needed it. Right? Yeah, and it took forever to get there.
Right. And the merchants, really, everyone kind of focuses on the gold miners and everything like that. But it is the merchants who supplied the goods that helped build the West. Right. And we know Stanford and Crocker and Huntington and Goldwater, those names, the Babbitt brothers and the Wardens, they are at the cornerstone down in Tucson, the Ronstadts. Oh, yeah. The cornerstones of building community.
Yes. Yeah. And it's fascinating because, I grew up with the Goldwater store. In fact, I worked there when I was in high school.
Which one did you work at, Scottsdale or?
Yeah, Scottsdale.
It was a great store.
It was a great store. And there was a point that my grandfather used to talk about when he did all of the buying for the store, down to ladies' undergarments and dresses, and they had their own label, and it was just, their clothes were, the best in the state. Right. They were very high-end and almost couture. So it's funny that he would go to, New York and do all the buying. And, he had great taste.
He was such a complex person and what a Renaissance man in terms of his artistic side. Obviously, businessman and photographer, politician, world-renowned leader.
Pilot.
Mm-hmm. Veteran. Mm-hmm. Father, grandfather,
ham radio operator,
and I, such a fascinating person. And I was fortunate. We were talking before the show that I got to meet him for an article in Cameron Darkroom in the early '90s with Jay Dussard as the photographer. And one of the main things he pointed out to us when we visited him in his beautiful home there in Paradise Valley, with that great look, you could see Camelback Mountain and just look out on the city below. And he talked about the fact, he said, Stuart, when we moved out here, he said there was nothing north of us. And this, look at it today. Look at, but then his ham radio room and he had model airplanes, and he said, this radio room, a lot of important messages here to men and women overseas over the last 50 years. He really took a lot of pride in how his communications with veterans, connecting with families in Arizona during the Vietnam War.
Right.
And remarkable human being.
Yeah.
And we're here. You have been very invested for a long time in keeping his legacy alive as an artist, as someone who, was inspired by the people and the geography and the geology and just the Arizona, the essence of Arizona. And I don't think a lot of people understand that side of your grandfather, Barry Goldwater.
No, actually they don't. So the story is that I moved to Atlanta in 2006 to marry somebody, Robert.
Uh-huh.
And when I was back there, I had some of my grandfather's photographs on my wall. And this gentleman came over who was a photographer, Lauren Hijema, came over and he was just saying, "Who did this?" And I said, "Those are my grandfather's." And he said, he's, a photographer, so he was admiring them. And then he and I started talking. He said, "Where are all these photographs or negatives?" And I just stopped. I had to find out. And I almost panicked because I'm thinking, where are these negatives that go back to the 30s?
Right.
So I got a hold of Mike Goldwater, who's my uncle, and he was the archivist of the family. And I found out through Mike that my grandfather had donated a collection to ASU, collection to the Center for Creative Photography, and then a collection to the Herd, along with all those Kachina dolls early on. So there was also the family collection. And I presented to the family that I wanted to start a foundation that would focus on digitizing and protecting and preserving these images because, they're all on film.
Right.
The longer it goes, the less color or they deteriorate. And so that's when I started working on the foundation. I hadn't gotten my 501c3 yet, but I just started calling around saying, "Can I come visit you? I want to see what you have in your collection." So in 2018, I finally got my 501c3. I had already talked to Scottsdale Museum of the West and planned on doing a show that would kick off in 19 going on through 20.
Right early on when the museum opened. It was one of the first big shows, wasn't it?
It was one of the biggest shows, yeah. In fact, it at the time had more foot traffic than they'd ever gotten, and that's why they kept it up another 6 months.
Right.
So I started going around. I actually went to the Herd and digitized a few of their negatives. I went to ASU as well. And what I've been working on is the family collection, which, at the time I was living in Atlanta. So my friend Lauren and I packed up his Volkswagen wagon. We insulated the whole thing. We took all the reels, all the photography, all the negatives, and drove them back to Atlanta where I was. And that's
what a trek.
I know. But that's where I could digitize, and he's also a master framer. He can, kind of color correct to bring the images back to their original state.
Right.
So that is what I've been working on.
So we're talking Kodachrome as slides, as well as large format black and whites?
Absolutely.
What was the camera your grandfather used that was famous for?
Hasselblad.
Hasselblad, that's right. He was very famous, and many of his earliest photos were taken with that camera.
I do have that camera.
Is that right?
I'm lucky enough. And,
oh, my.
And his last camera was a Nikon, who I borrowed from Anna Goldwater, who is Uncle Mike's daughter, who's a photographer.
Right.
And so I have the Nikon, too, because when we did the show, at the museum, we brought in a lot of his effects, his cowboy boots and his, awards and his journals. So
Right.
people got an insight of who he really was.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsors. We'll be right back with Alison Goldwater.
History matters. For nearly 100 years, the Sharlot Hall Museum has preserved our community's story. And over at Findlay Toyota, they believe in that same legacy of trust and reliability. That's why we're proud they support us here at the Sharlot Hall Museum. Just as Toyota has a long history of building vehicles you can depend on, Findlay is committed to our community's future. Go see their amazing selection of new and used Toyotas. Experience a legacy of quality for yourself. Findlay Toyota on Willow Creek Road in Prescott. At Foothills Bank, they're not just about banking. They're about people, community, and building futures. Whether you're managing personal finances, growing your business, planning for retirement, or buying your dream home, their friendly team is there to guide you every step of the way. Stop by your local Foothills Bank today. It's more than just banking. It's a partnership for success. Foothills Bank is a division of Glacier Bank, member FDIC.
Welcome back to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum in Prescott, Arizona. My special guest today is Alison Goldwater, and we are having a great afternoon talking about family history, Goldwaters in Arizona, and your grandfather, Barry, and his passion for the people of Arizona and photography. And, I would say that one thing I learned from your grandfather and admired through whether it's the documentaries about him or the articles about his life, and, people can focus on his politics, but one of the things I've always admired about him was his passion for the people of Arizona. Sharlot Hall, who helped found this museum where we're at today, I would love to find the documentation of the two of them meeting when he was a young man, but we know that he was aware of Sharlot, and that Sharlot's passion for starting a museum, for collecting history, writing the story of Arizona, championing the rights of the native peoples, of the environment, the conservation that Teddy Roosevelt believed in.
Absolutely.
All of those values that your family and your grandfather represented and championed in his life. And and he also loved to fly. Did he start? And he loved to go down the Grand Canyon. He was also a river rat. He was quite an adventurer.
1940,
all the way, the Green River, all the way to Mexico.
Yeah, he went down in the wooden boats and with a team.
I think he told me that he was one of the first 100 men or women.
Yeah, 70.
Yep, to ever travel the entire length of the river.
And he wrote a book about it, which is beautiful. It's called Delightful Journey.
Okay.
And
one I need to get.
Yes. And one of my goals is to republish that book and find, those negatives and actually digitize them so they come out really pristine.
Oh my gosh.
I think that would be beautiful.
Let me know how I can help you with that.
Oh, trust me, I'll call you.
All right. Well, I would love to be a part of something like that. And, the photography that we're talking about today, his as he traveled the state well before he became a politician, he ingrained himself in the peoples of Arizona. The store reflected the native arts of the people that he loved so much, and admired for who they were, their culture and their artisanship. Do you know when he started flying? Because he flew all over the state with his camera, and he had a lot of aerial photography as well.
Yeah, so he started flying when he was about 17 or 18.
How about that?
Down at Sky Harbor. And I believe it was a female pilot that taught him. And I'm forgetting her name. But, he started very early, and then he was in World War II, and he would fly what they called the hump.
That's right.
And he flew supplies, over into India, the hump over into India and that part of the world.
Right.
So he
one of
was
the most dangerous routes in the whole war to fly over the Himalayas.
right.
And there was a good friend of my father's, Bishop White, from the Valley, who also flew that route.
Yeah.
And Gene Autry did as well. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
They called him the Flying Sergeant. He flew, he flew in his cowboy boots.
Wow.
Yeah, Gene Autry also flew the hump.
I wonder if that came in handy. His cowboy boots.
I don't know. Might have. And I'm sure that Gene and your grandfather knew each other because Gene became so involved with Channel 10, Cool TV here in the Valley, and all those sorts of things.
Yeah. So he, he loved flying. In fact, he was able to fly every jet the Air Force would put out, and he flew in every one up, and he piloted. And till his eyesight, he had to have the co-pilot pilot. He would co-pilot.
Sure.
But that was his love and his passion. He just, loved to fly. And I don't know if you remember Jerry Foster.
Of course.
Yeah. And so as a young girl, my grandfather lived up on the hill where Hogan Drive, looking over Wrigley, not Wrigley, but
Georgie Hormel's house.
the Hormel Mansion,
Right.
who I remember when they were building that, and my grandfather would go, "What is going on?" But Jerry would actually land right in his front driveway, right there, and just pick him up. And a lot of times I was able to fly with him up to the reservation and down to Tucson.
What memories are those?
It was amazing. It was just amazing, and you wouldn't believe how people responded to him.
Yeah.
Even when I worked on the Hill for the Senate Commerce Committee, we would walk down, Russell Building halls, and everybody would stop. Didn't matter, Republican, Democrat, it didn't matter.
Right.
And they just adored him.
Yeah.
So that showed me how much power he had. And,
Right.
I was in my 20s, and it was just amazing. Yeah, it really was. But yes, he loved, especially the Navajo and Hopis. He loved that area up there. In fact, he had a trading post that he was partners with, that my grandmother bought a partnership for him.
How about that?
And it was called Rainbow Trading Post, Rainbow Lodge Trading Post. And so he got to know a lot and respect. They respected him. They honored him. They trusted him. So they come and trade their goods. Unfortunately, it burnt down, and that was the end of that. But But I guess they also had horseback rides up to the bridge and around that area as well. So, he just adored them. And when the storms would come in, and as they live so far apart from each other, and they could live 10 miles from each other, and it's hard for them to get supplies when the winter storms come in. So he would, pack up a plane and just land on a dirt road and, get supplies to them. In fact, he even flew up because this woman was having a baby and she couldn't get out of her house. And he got her to the hospispittal. Yeah.
And wasn't he involved in some of those airdrops? There was a number of times where the storms were so big.
Right, airdrop.
They had to come up with drop hay, parachute food, just like they would to soldiers or people that are, have had a terrible disaster.
Right.
And those were some famous, I think he led a number of those events where they had to go in and do the airdrops of food and for people and the livestock.
Yeah. You probably know more than me.
Well, I'm always learning something about Barry Goldwater. And, because he was this Renaissance man, and he had these different facets of his life, and he didn't give them up. He just kept pursuing them. Even when he went to Washington D.C. as a senator, and then ran for president. But then he came back to Phoenix, and of course we know he helped lead the whole Phoenix Preserve movement, saved Camelback Mountain from full development.
Right.
So he was always finding a place to apply his talents and his passion. And you are bringing that back to life and keeping it in our memory, not just putting it on a shelf in a museum somewhere, but you're bringing it to life, and you've got a big show coming up, so where people can learn more about it and stand back and take a look at this photography, this amazing photography. And you live and work not too far from Cattle Track Arts Studio. Right there in Scottsdale. And you have a big show coming up. It's called the Barry Goldwater Photography Inaugural Preview and Sale.
Yes. I'm offering for the first time ever where people can actually purchase the photography. And that will go towards the Barry and Peggy Goldwater Foundation to help digitize, as well as the Cattle Track Arts and, Janie Ellis's foundation, which helps artists, pursue their goals and supports artists.
Well, why don't we take a quick break, thanks our sponsors again, and come back and talk about this art show that's going to come up on March 28th in Scottsdale. Okay.
Since 2007, Pinion Painting has been transforming homes and businesses with over 40 years of first-hand experience. They bring superior craftsmanship and an eye for detail to every project, making your vision a reality, hassle-free. Your time is precious. Trust Pinion Painting to get it right the first time. Visit Pinion Painting today and let them transform your space. On the web at pinionpainting.com. For over 45 years, Blind Brothers Arizona has been the heart of window style in Prescott. From blinds, shutters, drapes, they custom design and install with expert precision, tailored to you. Whether for your home or office, trust the name locals rely on. Visit blindbrothersaz.com today or call 928-776-1845 for a free consultation. Blind Brothers Arizona, the originals since 1979.
Welcome back to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum. And my special guest today is Alison Goldwater. And we are having a great afternoon talking about the legacy of Barry Goldwater, the Arizona Renaissance man, great politician, American leader, but also an artist, someone who loved the people of Arizona, loved the land, loved its culture, and he left a legacy of his eye on the people here and the land through his photography. And his granddaughter, Alison, is bringing it to us at Cattle Track Arts on March 28th for a preview show, a show that's going to benefit the foundation that you've created. That's the Barry and Peggy M. Goldwater Foundation, which has been designed to support the digitization of his life work of photography. Must be in the thousands of images.
Yeah, it's over 13,000. I think it's more like 17,000. I don't think that number's right, so I'll know when I get done.
And these are black and white negatives, large format negatives.
Large, 16 millimeter. We all sizes. All the sizes.
Color and black and white.
Yes, throughout the years. Yeah.
Like and we know how important it is to save that color photography. I mean, depending on the year, the type of film, they can, the color starts to change. Have you noticed any of that kind of changes in some of the photography?
Yes, I have. In fact, some of the color we just could not bring back, so we turned it into a black and white, so we could save the image.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And nobody knew at that time what the shelf life was of that color photography, as the different Kodachromes and Kodacolors and so your passion for this, obviously, did you realize when you were a girl that your grandfather had this love of photography? Did you was up on the walls and people, did he have his camera with him regularly? Or?
Oh yeah, of course I knew it. I mean, I think I knew it when I realized he was my grandfather at 2 years old. Right. I don't know. anyway, he had a dark room in his home.
Oh, sure.
So, and he always had his camera around his neck.
Uh-huh.
Always, even, at family gatherings in his living room. So he was always shooting with his camera. It was always there.
Well, there has to be just, at times, I'm sure when you're going through this photography, there, do you get on the phone and call, a cousin or a brother or, a family member and say, you can't believe what I just came across. Did you know that he took pictures, at this family event, or he was, it has to be remarkable because it's like you're on your own search and discovery of the family history.
I am.
In his life. I
am. In fact, some of the photographs that he took up in northern Arizona of the landscapes, those landscapes have changed.
Right.
And my daughter, Esme, my youngest daughter, graduated from NYU 2 years ago with a photography degree.
How about it's in the blood?
And I actually talked to Scott Baxter about this as well. I want to retrace his steps and find that spot that he took that photograph, before and after.
Oh, it'd be a remarkable book.
And exactly. So when I do digitize these photographs, he was very good about making notes on the outside, but there's so many that there are no notes. So I at one point need to go up to the reservation and start asking around, like, where is this? Find out more so I can, have the right information, metadate. And that's something I didn't do it during COVID because I was too busy delivering 35,000 hazmat suits. So, but that's one of my goals too. And I'm going to take my daughter up there and have her shoot some things up there as well. But you're right. I do come across pictures. The funny thing is he used to take pictures of all his friends, and I'm trying to figure out who these people are. I'm asking my mother, Joanne, who's his oldest daughter.
Sure.
I'm like, can you identify this person? So I really want to find out who all these people are that were his good friends, and it's a chore.
I've come across some photos recently. They have not been scanned in our archives here of a photographer who we have a big collection of his work, large format, black and white, of your grandfather and Paul Fannin at the Orm barbecue.
Oh,
like late 60s.
Oh my goodness.
And we know that Barry and Paul were regulars at the Orm barbecue up there in the 50s and 60s and 70s. But but when you go through the pictures, I know who's in the photographs. I know where the locations are, but sometimes you kind of have to get, like the table we're sitting around here, you have to kind of have a photo party and say, hey, let's get everyone around the table. Do you know who that is, or who's that? Or if we don't, can we take a snap and send it to someone who might know? I mean,
Will you host a photo party with me?
Sure, I'd love to.
And we'll just lay it all out, and you probably know everybody.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
That would be great.
We just got the Orm School and Camp Archives here at Sharlot Hall Museum, and we're going to be working with some alumni to come in on a regular basis to go through, because the thousands of photographs that we have from those summers and those school years, to make sure that when we're looking at the pictures, someone can slowly but surely identify who's in the images.
I guess the school recently got bought.
It did.
Correct.
That
okay.
is right. Yes.
Yeah, because actually Janie Ellis was sending people up there or doing something with the new
owner,
yes.
Alan Kempner.
Alan Kempner. That's right. Okay.
It's going to be a school of sustainability, and I think it's going to rise as a new educational center.
That's wonderful.
I heard the Taliesin West architects are going to be up there this June.
That's fantastic.
And they're going to be doing work on Orm's going to be reborn as a place of education for sustainability, crop research, working with the Orm cattle ranch, permaculture. I think there's a lot of new opportunities that are going to happen up there. And I know that it's such a special place, and a place of art. The Phillips Library, and they hosted over 50 fine arts festivals there. And I'm sure at some point your grandfather knew Dot Lewis, who started that art festival, because she flew in World War II as one of the women air service
He talked
pilots.
about Dot.
Yeah. I bet the two of them would have been, I'd like to have been at the table with those two.
Yes. Yeah, she's kind of a tough cookie too, isn't she?
Oh, yeah. She was hired at Orem in 1949. She was a single mom. She taught flying, biology, horseback riding, equitation, and art, and influenced students for, I think, close to 45 years at the school. And then she would come back with the art festival. And, Arizona just attracts. So we're very lucky to live here in Arizona and to be part of something special. And, here at Sharlot Hall Museum, we celebrate the heritage of culture. And I really do believe that Barry had to have known Sharlot, because I used to study a lot at Arizona Historical Foundation, which he and Bert Fireman put together. It was at ASU for all those years. And just like Sharlot, I know that Barry traveled the state collecting the history, finding boxes of maps and photographs and history and, primary documents of our state's history and its people, so that it would be saved. And that's what Sharlot Hall did here. And so I think there's such this legacy of giving back, like your foundation, the legacy of doing something not just for now, but for many years and for the next generation. Right. And I think that's what one of the things you're going to be celebrating at Cattle Tracks on March 28th and March 29th, the preview from 5 to 8 o'clock. And then on March 29th, the sale from 12 to 5. Is there a place you can go online to find more out about this sale?
Yes. If you go to Goldwater Gallery, we have on Instagram and we're on Facebook. Shalom, who you met earlier, is setting all that up.
Goldwater Gallery on Facebook.
Yes.
And Instagram.
And Instagram. And it has our reels. You'll see little short snippets, film of the photographs and things like that.
And
we're uploading things to it every day.
Do you have to RSVP to go, or do you just show up?
Absolutely do not have to RSVP.
That makes it easy in 2026.
Everybody's welcome.
That's great.
Yes.
And,
yes.
So let's take another quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about maybe a little bit about your goals just this year, and if the show's going to go on the road, and how people can help your cause to make sure that these photographs are digitized and live for the next generation.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Alison. And for a number of us, this has been kind of a walk down memory lane. My wife said to me as she heard the program, she said, well, I was a Goldwater girl back in 1964 in high school. Well, that dates us for sure, but it obviously helps us remember some of the wonderful things that we know about the Arizona heritage that still continues on today. So we are fully enjoying this, and we're going to really make a point of seeing some of those wonderful pictures. And thank you for that restoration project. And we are hoping that a number of us will be able to take advantage of that wonderful event that is coming up real soon. Real soon. We want to make sure that everybody knows about that. Hey, thank you very much for being a part of the program. The Arizona Roundup program, thanks to you and our many fine sponsors, is now one of the premier programs in terms of the Western tradition, and we're grateful for that opportunity. My name is Stan. I'm the radio man. It's my privilege and pleasure as part of the Cowboy Spirit Radio Network to be a part of this wonderful adventure. And we are encouraging you and your organization and your good cause to think about how Stuart is able to do this along with Alison, because the podcasting phenomenon is not just a fad anymore. It's one of the key ways that people do communicate their good ideas and their good causes. Reach out to me. Maybe I could help you be on the radio just like Stuart and Alison. Stan at witradio.net, stan at witradio.net. We'll talk to you about getting you on the radio in 2026. Good year to do that. The anniversary of our country. You make a new start in your life to celebrate the good things. Now, here we go. Thank you very much. And I can hardly wait. We've got to finish up the fine program of Arizona Roundup and the legacy of the lens. Here we go.
Welcome back to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum in Prescott, Arizona. My special guest today is Alison Goldwater, and we're having a great afternoon reminiscing about our families growing up here in Arizona, all the connections we have, and also Barry Goldwater's legacy as a photographer, his legacy as a historian, someone who believed in the people and the culture of Arizona. And some say one reason Barry was so popular and so well loved is that he traveled the state. The dirt roads, the back roads. He flew into the little airstrips where no one else was going, and he was friends with everyone across the state. Remarkable legacy he had in unifying the people of the state.
Yeah, I actually read. I read something. I think it was a letter that this woman had written me, and she said that she couldn't get financing for her college because they had cut back. And her father said, you need to write to Barry Goldwater. And she said, I'm not even old enough to vote. He's not going to listen to me. She wrote him a letter. He wrote her back. And he actually got her funding for her college.
How about that?
Yeah.
That is remarkable.
Yeah, and he did that all the time with people.
Well, you know,
He wouldn't tell anybody he did it, but I've run into people that said, your grandfather really helped me out when I needed help.
well, I wrote him a letter. I was going to share you a quote from my master's thesis on the history of the Black Canyon Highway, which you experience today in its most modern form, flex lanes. No
I don't
flex
know
lanes.
what that is. All I know is it disappeared somewhere.
That's right. So I was writing my master's thesis at ASU on the history of the Black Canyon Highway, inspired by my dad's stories as a boy. He was sent to Orm Ranch when it was a small school, K through 8, 12 students. And he said that Charlie Orm or Charles Orm Sr., Uncle Chick, would put him in the car and have to drive down to see Joe Voorhees, the dentist, and it would be 90 miles of a dirt road. And so, and you can still see that dirt road as it winds through the hills of the Black Canyon, going down from Cordis down to Phoenix or coming north. So I was writing this, and I said, well, you know, I've read some reminiscences of Senator Goldwater and his childhood, and I know he drove the state. So I sent him a letter, and here's was his answer. I said, I asked him, do you have any memories of driving up the Black Canyon Highway when in your childhood? So he wrote back and he said, Barry Goldwater remembers in around 1917, traveling on the Black Canyon was an adventure not soon forgotten. He's talking about his mother. He says, we got stuck not only in the mud, but on rocks, in the sand. But thank God we never got caught in a flash flood. I think the first time my mother drove us to Prescott was around 1916 or 1917. Barry Goldwater recalled that trip. It took us about 17 hours, and we had about 13 flat tires. In those days, we didn't use a spare. We just got out the kit and fixed the leak. And that's a letter he wrote to me in February 20th, 1992. Isn't that special?
Yeah, it really is.
To me, I can go through this whole document I read, and right there, that letter is just, and he took the time. And I have that letter saved, and he was that kind of person. He didn't have to. He could have called me and said, "Oh yeah, let me give you But he sat down, wrote the letter, and it was very special. And that's the kind of how generous he was in his life. And you are passing that generosity forward, Alison. I really, it's a remarkable project you have. It's a passion project for you, for your children, grandchildren, and the legacy of your whole family.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
I was very, very close to my grandfather. So, I considered him a father figure. And so he and I had a special bond.
Well, it can be seen in your work that you've done. You have your book here with you that you published a number of years ago with Arizona Highways. What's the title of this book here that you brought with you, Alison?
It's it's photographs by Barry Goldwater, and it actually I published it with Robert Steve, the editor of Arizona Highways, and he wrote all the copy, which is absolutely, he's a beautiful writer, and the copy is beautiful, and it takes you through the photographs and tells the story, that my grandfather wrote. Mm-hmm. So it's really he's telling my grandfather's story from his words, and it's a coffee table book, and it's going to be made available at various places. I'm really trying to get it out there. Arizona Highways now sells it on their website.
All right.
But I'm trying to distribute it more around the state and things like that.
So right now you can purchase it at the Arizona Highways gift shop or on their website.
Absolutely, you can.
And will it be for sale at the art sale?
It certainly will, and I'll sign it.
Nice.
And maybe Barry Jr. will sign it too.
There is a reason to be there at the Cattle Track Arts, 6105 North Cattle Track Road in Scottsdale. March 28th is the preview of this sale. The first time ever.
Right, first time ever.
These beautiful black and white photographs. Is it all black and white or some color?
We're going to have some color.
Oh, wow. I might have to be coming down to see this show. This sounds remarkable. 5 to 8 on the 28th. That's a Saturday here in March.
Right.
And then Sunday is the sale, 12 to 5.
Well, the preview too, people will be saying, oh, I want, but they're not coming off the walls at that time. So people will see the whole show. It's not
right.
We're not letting him walk it out the door.
No, it's a classic art show.
Yes.
With a benefit to this foundation, the Barry and Peggy Goldwater Foundation. I'm going to read what it says here. The mission to digitize, preserve, and protect visual historic photography and film for generations to come. Mm-hmm. And then it's also going to support one of those throwback locations, is Art Colony, Cattle Track Arts and Preservation. Yeah. If you haven't been there before, it's been a while. I remember going there and working with Mark McDowell. He and Bob Bell were doing some handmade books, but I remember him working with one of the favorite men of my life, Jay Dussard, and he was doing these magnificent, supersized prints of Jay Dussard's photographs.
It's a real interesting place, and I suggest everybody come and see it. You really have to be invited on. They do have tours of it because there's artists there, and so the Frank Lloyd Wright students are there. Right. It's really interesting. And
the mission is to recognize, celebrate, and preserve Scottsdale's past and present authentic cultural heritage by providing opportunities for artists, craftsmen, students, and visual and performing arts, both collectively and individually, to encourage and enhance the art form. And aren't there artists who live on site in little casitas right there?
Mark McDowell is one of them. Yeah,
that's right.
His place. I mean, there all these little places that they live in.
Right.
They were built by Janie Ellis's father, and they owned that property for years, like 100 years or something.
Well, and so all the proceeds from the Barry M. Goldwater Photography inaugural preview and sale, I can say that.
I know, it's a tongue twister.
Inaugural preview and sale. And you've been leading this charge here, Alison. Tell me, is there a photograph that's going to be in the show that you can describe that people are going to see that is one of your favorites?
Well, I have so many favorites, but some of the more popular ones is Navajo Pony, which was taken in 1942, and it's actually on the invite. But there's the chief, which he is in a hogan, and the light is coming down, which not many people have seen that one. I have so many that. They're indescribable. They're just beautiful. And these photographs are so clean and clear that you can see the pores in their skin.
Right.
So they're beautiful.
Well,
Absolutely
it sounds like it's
beautiful.
going to be a remarkable show. And I hope that everyone who's listening to the show has a chance to visit. And if they can't, they can go online. You said earlier that on Facebook.
Yes.
And on Instagram, you have a page. What's it called again?
Well, it's Goldwater Gallery. I'm working on the website.
Okay.
And I was hoping to get the website up by now, but my web designer like went somewhere. Anyway, so
Goldwater Gallery. Look for it.
Yes, look for it. It will be up in a month or so.
Okay, great.
That's what I want to get up. And then they will see all of it and, you know, all the information, and it'll be really fun to see.
You can own a piece of art, a piece of history, and support the preservation of the great photography of Barry M. Goldwater, Jr.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh.
And Allison, it's been wonderful having you on the show.
It has
been. And we look forward to having you again and talking about, you know, how this project is developing and where it's going and how people can participate in it.
And how many people we know together.
I know. I think we're going to have to have we'll have to have a podcast just about that.
Reminiscing.
Right. All right. Thanks, Allison.
Thank you so much.